Before I move on to part 2, let me do a quick recap of what we saw in part 1 of the video. We saw what a mind map was, its benefits and application. Then we saw the legacy from when it started, who were the pioneers, and about Tony Buzan who popularized it. We saw about brain, its evolution over the millions of years, the 4 parts of brain, more specifically on cerebrum, then about brain cells, that is the neurons, and what connection it has with the mind map, because the neurons structure is very much similar to a mind map, and that's why brain finds it easy to understand mind maps. So we concluded that mind map uses the brain's language or its natural way of communication. So we now move to the next part. Here we talk about a few brain function and then move to the rules for creating mind maps. The point what we are going to discuss now is brain thinking patterns, and these inferences what we see now has been arrived by conducting various or multiple experiments on human brain and studying waves and the behavior pattern when doing those tasks. The final inference of the studies was that the cerebrum divides the task into 2 main categories. One is left brain task and other is the right brain tasks. The left brain tasks are those which deal with words, logic, numbers, sequences, list and analysis. These are primarily used in the academic side, and people very strong in this area are intellectuals. The right brain tasks has to do with rhythms, the spatial awareness around you, the imagination, daydreaming, colors, dimension, etc. So this is more to do with artistic creativity and intuition. So the education system primarily concentrates on the skills of the left brain activities, that is mathematics, language, list, analysis, science and so on, more than the right brain activities like arts, music, thinking skills and so on. Tony Buzan, who found or who popularized the mind map, says that this is quite unfortunate that we do not use the other part of the brain which was gifted by evolution. So we saw in the last video that the cerebrum is divided into 2 parts, the left and the right cerebrum, and they are connected by nearly 300 million nerves. So by not using one part of the brain, we are not only idling that part of the brain, but we are not even using those 300 million nerves which are connecting these 2 hemispheres. By relying heavily only on the left part of the brain, we discourage the dialogue between the 2 hemispheres of cerebrum and we reduce the overall performance of our brain. We will now see the rules for mind map. I will be now discussing 9 brain friendly rules for creating mind maps. Please remember that 2 people with the same knowledge on the subject and awareness about mind map could come out easily with extremely different mind maps altogether for the same subject. It's quite possible, but ultimately the understanding or the way you understand is more important. Always work on a paper and then move to a software. So the first rule is central idea. The central idea is the theme of the mind map. So put it at the center of the paper and we call it as the central idea. You might have a question why it is necessary to start from the center. By starting from the center, you give brain the freedom to spread out in all directions freely and naturally. So this is the natural structure which radiates from the center. So in the center of the paper, you have the main theme like how I have shown in the image below. So I use the software called as iMindMap over the last few years, and which is now part of IOIA. And the images, whatever you see in this video, has been created using that software. For our demonstration or explanation, so I'll be taking you through a mind map where I talk about learning from Mr. Naval Ravikant. So I had read his book. I had read the book Naval Almanac. So from those a few points, I'm going to show how I made this mind map. So learning from naval is the central idea which I put in the center of the paper. The rule 2 is having an image for the central idea. Use a suitable image or picture along with the central theme. So why should you do this? Two things. The first is an image is worth 1,000 words and helps to increase your imagination. The second related aspect is by putting an image and increasing your imagination, you are bringing the right part of your brain also in creating mind maps. So you are effectively going to use both your left and right brain in creating mind maps. Also, a central image helps you to keep you focused and concentrate. So the sample whatever we have taken, I just put the picture of Mr. Naval above the central theme. Rule 3 is use colors. Use colorful branches for various elements. And why you should use colors? Because colors are exciting to the brain, and as we saw a little while ago, recognition of color is a function of right brain. So you are involving your right brain also into creating mind maps. So this adds a tremendous energy for creative thinking in making your mind map. So one important takeaway is you can use colors in relation to the context. Like when you are talking about something important or something caution or danger, you can use a red color. And also the another example is when you are talking something about ocean, you can draw those branches in blue color. One main caution is be careful to use the same color for sub branches as well of whatever you use in main branches. Do not use a different color. Rule 4 is make connections between different parts of your mind map with each other. That is, all the main elements will be connected with main branches to the central theme, and so on goes the sub branches. So why it is important? One of the brain function is association and connections, means we try to link similar things together. So by connecting the branches, we can easily understand and remember a lot more easily. Also, connecting creates a basic structure and architecture for your thoughts. It finally resembles like the neuron connection, whatever you saw in the part 1 of the videos. This is very much similar to the way nature, a tree is connecting branches that radiates from the central trunk. Rule 5, curved branches. We just now saw the central theme must be connected to the main elements or objects through branches. So these branches should be curved rather than being straight lined. So why is it important? So we saw in the last presentation or the last part of the video that brain cells are connected to each other through curved nerves and not the straight lines. Since the mind maps are going to resemble like how the neurons are arranged and communicating, these lines should be curved because straight lines are boring to your brain. So use curved organic branches like branches of trees, which are far more attractive to the eye and brain. So with this 3 combination of rules, that is whatever we saw in rule 3, 4 and 5, the use of color, image and curved branches, the mind map will be visually simulating than any other conventional note taking method. This makes it extremely useful to recall information whichever was stored in mind maps. So this is our sample mind map whichever we did for learnings from Naval. So you could see branches connecting the central theme as well as the main objects. So the branches are curved and there are colorful branches with the sub branches having the same color as of the main branches. So this is how a final mind map with the rules up to rule 5 looks like. This is rule 6, one word. So per branch or per object you will use only one keyword. So why is it important to have only one word? Because single words give your mind maps more power and flexibility. Each single word or image is like a multiplier or a lever which can generate its own associations and connections. Also, when you use single words, each one word is in a position to spark new ideas and thoughts. But here flexibility is needed. Not every time this is affordable. If you see in the example, I would have used one word in most of the cases except for the last one, uncontrolled thinking. There is no other way to show it. I have to show that way and I have shown it. So please be flexible, but try to stick to one word as much as possible. Rule 7, unleash your creativity. So we saw that by using colorful branches and use of images in the central theme, we have triggered the right brain as well for creating those mind maps. So use it to its fullest potential by using symbols, words, numbers and images. So that way you are using both part of your brain, and brain also has a very natural appetite for a visual recognition. So if you see this mind map is for a small kid who wants to learn about the animal classification. So you find in each branch the respective animal. So this way you can use images, symbols and numbers to make your mind maps more creative. Rule 8, make connections or relationships. Look for a relationship between different objects in a mind map and connect them. So why it is important is brain works by association, and by connecting related ideas you are able to connect the bigger picture and able to retain the information. If suppose in this example the accountability was somewhere related to whom you have to be accountable, then I can connect both of these by a dotted arrow what you see in the image. So after creating your mind maps, you need to revisit. So that is rule 9, revisit your mind map. So when do you revisit? The ideal is you revisit a day or two after creating the initial mind map. So why is this important? So this gives sufficient time for your brain to make internally some connections with some earlier known or available information. So the most ideal time to revisit would be to do it the next day morning after you wake up, because the whole night the brain could have made the necessary connections and associations. This will have a reflection on your new reflection or thoughts in the mind map, and so that you can refine it a bit in the morning. So with this we conclude the 9 rules which are useful for creating mind maps. We now see how mind maps and brain functions are related. Mind maps use both parts of your brain, thereby unlocking full brain's potential. In the beginning we saw that the left brain was more to do with words, numbers and logic, whereas the right brain was more to do with imagination, colors, image and so on. So in mind maps we are effectively using both of them. Mind maps are a powerful thinking tool to unlock your brain power, because they reflect like the internal mind maps of your brain, that is the neurons, how the neurons communicate, how they are connected and so on. These are the other books by Tony Buzan. He has written a lot of books. I strongly recommend that you pick up a few books, read it and develop your expertise in mind maps and use it in your day-to-day professional and personal life.